Thank you all for tuning in.
The following is a presentation of Bald Spots Productions.
Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch III, coming to you live from the palatial home studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful town of Malden, Missouri. Joining me from a more than acceptable safe social distance are my guests for today. We have JF Garrard and Steve Moore, Mosquito Steve, as he put in the intro. So JF, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Toronto, in Canada.
Oh, okay, Toronto. Nice. A beautiful place. I've had a few guests from there. And Steve, where are you calling in from?
You didn't tell me I was going to have to be on a show with a Canadian. Come on, Bill. That was not.
Oh my God!
Don't tell me you're in the. Don't tell me you're one of the Blame Canada people. Where?
No. So Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Okay, I've been there before. Have not been to Toronto, but I have been to Dallas, and fun all around. Well, let's see. My new start off question is, what are you reading? And either one of you can go first. Whoever wants to chime in, get the discussion rolling.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I read a lot of stuff. I've been reading a Chinese science fiction book called The Three Body Problem. And then also this author, he's a Chinese author, but it's all translated into English. He also has a bunch of short stories, and one of them called Wandering Earth, which is about how in the future, Earth is kind of screwed, right? With, global warming and all that stuff. So, like, a lot of science fiction stories deal with, like, doing something to the sun. But in this one, we put rocket engines on the Earth, and we move the Earth around. So they also made this into a movie as well. So it's like different ideas on how to deal with this global climate change stuff. Because I'm a writer, so like, I'm always interested in, like, how are they, right? So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, what was it in Futurama? They got all the robots to turn their exhaust in the same direction, and that moved the Earth far enough for global warming not to be a problem for a while.
Oh, Elon can figure it out. We'll just turn it over to him. He'll figure it out.
Nah, Elon just wants to move everybody to Mars. He doesn't. He doesn't want the Earth to move out.
Only the rich people will end up on Mars. The rest of us are just going to burn.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to figure something out. Steve, how about you? What are you reading?
So it's so funny you say that. So I've started to go get it. I have this magazine that just came in yesterday called Wing Beats. It's about mosquito business. It's crazy.
Okay.
So I'm reading a book on Buddhism. So I'm dating a Vietnamese girl. We've been going out about a year, and she is a Buddhist, and I'm a Christian. And so I'm trying to study up on Buddhism so I can understand her. And she's amazing. She's always at peace. She's always calm. She's always collected. And I'm like going, wow. I mean, that speaks well for Buddhism. So I'm reading about that. And then at the same time, I'm reading a book by David Jeremiah about the book of Revelation. So I get all over the place.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, I grew up in a household that's half Buddhist, half Roman Catholic. So when I write stories, I have both elements, which makes it really hard to sell to people because they're like, it's not one or the other, but that's sort of what my upbringing was. So, yeah.
Well, but I love that about Buddhism. So you can be a Catholic and be a Buddhist too. And see, that's what I really never considered until I met Tiffany. And now I know, that there's a lot of people that practice Buddhism, but they have their higher power seems to be, Christ. So
yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. Because traditional Buddhism doesn't have anything, any god figure, any godhead, at
Deity.
any
Yeah.
rate, and
Hmm.
no deity. But yeah, I've always found the philosophical side of Buddhism to be quite fascinating and very much compatible with Christianity. Um, that with the way that, well, I mean, Christ basically tells us to be at peace. Paul says in one of his books, as much as it is up to you, be at peace with everyone, and I would assume that means with yourself as well.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. So I have people tell me all the time that I have faith, and oh my gosh, I want faith like you and all that kind of stuff. But then I
Mm-hmm.
meet her, and I mean, I don't hold a candle to her. She remains calm no matter what. And so,
Wow.
what it's teaching me though is to shut my mouth. That's in fact, that's probably the spiritual thing I ever learned to do was keep quiet.
Yeah.
Because every once in a while I'll start, with my old behavior, want to get in there and jump and go, well, you didn't, and start to argue with her, and I keep my mouth shut and we don't argue, and then pretty soon I usually realize that I was wrong. So it's a good thing I kept my mouth shut. So
Yeah. Keeping one's mouth shut, shut up and listen is my mantra.
yep,
At least I try to keep it that way.
yes.
Yeah,
So
I
what
think
is it? Wait,
Buddhism. Sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead, JF.
No, I guess say Buddhism helped me a lot. When I was filling in the form at the time, you were asking for topics to talk about, and I was like, let's talk about death. Because over the pandemic, a lot of people passed away in my family. But I think Buddhism really helped me cope. Some of them were not good deaths, some of them were like suicides, right? And then in
Oh, wow.
Christianity, that's sort of not good. But in Buddhism,
Right.
it's sort of like they made us
No,
stay.
it is good when
Oh, you
somebody
were.
dies in Christianity. That's
Yeah.
the ultimate reward. It is.
Yeah.
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 Well, because
Suicide's not
if you're a
the.
believer,
Go ahead.
that's you go to heaven when you die. And so here's the thing. So my mother died in 1998, and she was only 58 years old. Beautiful, funny, amazing woman. And the night she died, I went home, got on my knees to pray, and I heard this voice say, "Look up." And I looked up, and there was my mother, and she was holding hands with my sister, who died when I was 13. And she was holding hands with my sister, and they were waving and smiling, and they were healthy, happy, and whole. My mom had been fighting cancer forever. She looked amazing.
Wow.
She was radiant, and like it's so. That showed me that our loved ones are waiting for us on the other side. That there is something after this. I don't, whether it's Christianity or not, I don't know. But to me, I believe there is eternal life, and there are eternal rewards, and so that's how I live. So
Yeah.
I've had a lot of death in
My
my family.
my beliefs are a little different as far as from what a lot of mainstream Christians and Catholics believe, because a lot of people consider suicide to be a cardinal sin because it's murder, and because you're dead, you can't ask forgiveness. But I don't believe people generally commit suicide for no good reason.
Yes.
The major reason being depression. And most people don't understand that the way depression works is it's like you're trapped in a room with no doors and no windows. And so it's dark and you're alone and you've got no way out. And, while there is a way out, you just can't see it when you're dealing with depression. It sometimes feels like the only way out is suicide, which is unfortunate. But yeah, and that's when you think about it, when you try to think about it that way, it seems reasonable, because if there's no way out, if that's the only way out, then that's the only way out, and you have to get out of that situation. And so from that point of view, however, yeah, from that point of view, it's at least there's a reason.
So this guy, so I was suicidal for 20 years straight. Okay. I was a crackhead. I was an alcoholic. I was going to jail a lot. I was an absolute mess.
Wow.
Didn't think it should be happening to me because I had a college degree and grew up in a decent neighborhood. And I, for some reason, though, I couldn't stay out of trouble. And suicide was at the forefront of my mind most days, but I didn't have the courage. So I kept hoping that maybe I would overdose or something. And anyway, and so I ended up getting in recovery in 1995. I started trying to get in recovery in 1991, but it took 4 years for me to be ready. But and so I was still facing some depression after I got into recovery because there was, you know, I've been putting all kinds of chemicals in my. A friend of mine gave me a book called I think it's called Life After Love. And it's this guy did all these interviews with a bunch of people that had near-death experiences. And then he wrote this book saying, here's what they had in common. Well, in the back of the book, there was questions and answers. And one of the people asked him, what about people that tried to commit suicide and had near-death experiences? And he said, that's a great question. They all had similar experiences too. Their experience was that they felt like they had slapped God in the face and like their problems didn't go away. They got worse. And that is what, at that moment, I stopped wanting to commit suicide. It's absolutely crazy. But for 20 years, I've been obsessing on it. And all of a sudden, I'm like going, well, wait a minute. If it's not a way out, then I certainly don't want more trouble. No. So, I mean, it took it off the plate for me. It was really cool. It's no longer an option.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I've known a few people who've committed suicide, and you know, it's a sad and tragic thing.
It is.
You know, but
I don't think how much people care about them. And then after it happens, then you're like, oh my God. Like it was, you know, there's been other deaths in the family where it was illness, and those you can sort of accept a bit easier. But I had a really hard time accepting the death from the suicide. And at one point, one of my friends' uncle happened to be a traveling Buddhist monk. Apparently he goes from place to place. So she put me in touch with the uncle. And then he was asking me, why are you suffering so much? I'm like, what do you mean? Why am I suffering so much? And then he gave me some photocopies from like Buddhist texts. And then I thought about it a lot. I was like, why am I suffering so much? And it was because I wanted this reality for this person to be alive again. And I was suffering because that's not reality, but I wanted them to be alive. But you know what I mean? So I was suffering because I was after something that wasn't possible. And after talking to him a bit, and I was like, okay. But it still took me a couple of years to get through. It took me a long time to get over this death. And I had help and everything. And they're like, did you know you're chronically depressed? I'm like, of course I know, but I'm Asian. I'm not allowed to get help. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, the family's like, there's nothing wrong with you. Don't ever tell people you're depressed. And they're like, you can talk to, you know, Caucasian people, but don't talk to the Asian people, you know, because they'll think you're broken and all that crap. So that's part of why a lot of Asian people don't get help. They just kill themselves. Like, there's a pandemic in Hong Kong. Like, when school starts, a lot of the students, they can't deal with the pressure. There's a lot of academic pressure. And they just start jumping off buildings. But there are certain streets you're not supposed to go to in Hong Kong because the kids just start jumping, and then it's really horrible. But it's like, I don't know, it's a cultural thing. You don't talk about it, and then it makes it worse. And you know, it's a cycle, right? So,
but I feel like we could do. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Bill.
I was going to say a lot of Western families too are that way. You know, they don't talk about these problems. They just let them grow, and you know, and it's like, stuff it down, and you know, and you know, and it'll go away. You know, there have been a couple of issues in my family that was never talked about. I was really the first one to in the family to come out and say, hey, I have major depression, and I'm dealing with that. You know, and I'm getting help and all of that stuff. Since the move, I haven't, but I need to, as soon as my health insurance gets straightened out again, then then I'll be back on the straight and narrow. But yeah,
sometimes the help is not help. That's the problem. Sometimes the help's not help. So in recovery meetings, I tell you, I meet a lot of people with depression, and most of them are on some kind of medication. They're going to a therapist, and they got them on sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 medications. And the problem is, and so I see those same people. They end up a lot of times they end up killing themselves because of the medications that they're
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. It's a
Because
side
the
effect.
doctors don't know what's going to happen when
Yeah.
they give them another medication to add to these others. What's it going to do? And so I saw a lady had 22 years of sobriety. She was very, very helpful in the recovery community, and but she always seemed to be mad. One day I saw her and she was happier than I'd ever seen her. I was just blown away. I was like, "Oh my God, it's so good to see you happy." She went home and hung herself that night. That's why she was
Wow.
happy, because she had made the decision to go ahead and do it. But I
Wow.
also see that a lot of times, like with her, she had this obsession with her ex partner and her child, and that was, and so that was really what it was. But it was her wants and her desires. It was, and as I don't mean to be rude, but it's a selfish thing to
Yeah.
want to kill yourself. It's very selfish, because
Well,
not
depression
thinking about,
depression is very much an inward focusing issue.
yeah.
And that's a lot of how I got over a lot of the issue, was by focusing on things outside of myself.
Yes.
Doing the podcast has helped, and serving in my church has helped as well. And it's definitely depression is a selfish illness.
Well, yeah,
And
it depends. The person that I know that killed themselves, like, they had a mini stroke, so they started hallucinating. So they thought people were after the family. So I think they thought by killing themselves, they were saving us from whatever was after them. So I think it depends. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an illness that's sort of taken over the brain.
But I think that there are medications that work. It's the therapists that need to be trained and need to be better at it. Now, I don't see this as much as I did back in the mid 90s. All the new medications were coming out, and Prozac was going through the roof, and stuff. And so that was different. I don't think they're as reckless with those, different cocktails that they give people anymore.
Yeah.
But, and they're finding out, there's some simple things like lithium. Lithium is a sodium compound. It's very simple. I have a friend that was just asking me about it. I'm like going, yeah, go for it. I actually was on lithium when I first got sober, but it made cheese smell horrible to me. So like I couldn't eat pizza or enchiladas. I'm like, well, what the hell with that? God, you want to make me depressed? Well, take my pizza and my enchiladas away, by God.
But I think a lot of, because I started to see a Chinese doctor, but they're more holistic, I find. Like, they look at the whole body more. But Western medicine, they're like, it's fast, but it deals with one thing without worrying about the consequence of anything else. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you do one thing and then screw the other systems. Like, I don't know. It's a different philosophy of treating people. So, but anyhow. But it's expensive. Here we have to pay for it because it's not covered by anything. So every time I go to the Chinese doctor, it's like $100. So it kind of adds up after a while too. So.
Wow. I thought they paid for everything up there in Canada.
No. We pay for our eye exams. We pay for a bunch of stuff. Like if you have a serious illness, and sort of like they'll cover a little bit, or else you're waiting in line. Like you're going to die waiting in line, even if it's free. So.
Wow. Well, they're not telling us that down here.
Oh,
they're
my
telling
gosh.
us y'all have a wonderful system, and we should have one just like it.
Yeah.
I work in healthcare. I shouldn't say stuff like this. I do, but it's a big machine. So, it's slow to change. Like they're debating about whether or not to let companies come in, right? The 2-tier thing. How some people, they can afford it. I think it's a good thing in a way. If you can afford it, then you're out of this free system, right? Then it won't clog up as much. I mean, why not? But there's a lot of debates, political debates going on about that. So
I bet. Yeah, I've heard it's not exactly what we've been told down here.
Well, plus we don't want to go all private because then that's all really expensive too. Right? Like in the U.S., how do you cut back? How do you tell the insurance companies to cool it? And like let's work together and have healthcare, right?
The reason why healthcare is so expensive, or at least one of the reasons, is because of insurance companies. Insurance companies want discounts, and so the health providers upped all their prices in order to give insurance companies discounts. So it's like, so an aspirin they charge you $20 for. Well, the reason they charge you $20 for it is because they're giving a $10 discount to the insurance company. But because you're not an insurance company, you don't get that discount. So you have to pay the $20.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, our entire
so if you don't have insurance,
pharmaceutical business here in America it all needs redoing.
it's out of control. Yeah.
Yeah. And the taxpayers are paying for it just like everything else.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's yeah.
I was reading headlines about something about America's debt.
Oh
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because every president gripes about the previous president and the amount of debt that he tacked on, and then they tack on more debt than anybody else. So we've already in 3 years we've had $6 trillion in debt added. And it's just we're about over 30 trillion. That's ridiculous. We're never going to get it taken care of. It's a crisis.
Yep. Thanks, Alexander Hamilton.
Is there anything less depressing we can talk about, Bill?
I don't know. Well, let's find out. I want to find out more about mosquitoes.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Well, that needs to be a 4-hour program then, because I won't be able to shut up about them. So
well, how did you get the name Mosquito Steve?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's actually because so I belong to a recovery group, and we've got a lot of Steves in there. And so we were actually fixing to do, the Dallas Morning News wanted to do an article on me. And we had a new business we had started in 2010. And I just gotten a letter from the state of Texas saying, you can't use that name. We were calling it Bug Trust. And they said, you can't put the word trust in your name because you're not a trust. So I had to overnight come up with a real quick name. And I said, well, everybody calls me Mosquito Steve at my recovery group. So let's just go with Mosquito Steve. So they say, hey, did you hear what old Steve did? And they go, which Steve? They go, Mosquito Steve. So I was like, okay, well, we're Mosquito Steve. So I was before Mosquito Joe and all those other guys. And so, I was in the remodeling business back in 2000, and we were working on a customer's yard and it didn't have any mosquitoes. And I was fascinated. He said, I had to have a guy come up from Houston to do this. So we were the first company in Dallas to do misting systems. And then it grew from there. I've been developing products since 2002. And so I have to tell y'all, I'm really excited about this. So I've got a huge chemical company that, by next week, we're supposed to have a proposal from, and they want, to license all of my formulations. And so right now I've got nearly 40 SKUs. So we got a lot of products, and they want to license them all. And so that's coming in next week. And then but they only wanted to do retail and e-commerce. I have another guy that I've been talking to for 2 months. Well, he just sent me a note this morning and said, whatever NCH doesn't license from you, I want to license from. So, which is great because I'm a one-man show and it's so hard for me to do business this way. And now I'm going to have these big guys, doing all that for me. I'll still be the face of the organization and research and development, but yeah, I don't have to do all those.
You'll be like Colonel Sanders.
Yeah. That's so funny. I had a beard like him just not long ago, but I shaved it off. So I'd look younger.
What kind of things do you sell? Like sprays or?
Yeah. So I'm actually manufacturer, EPA exempt or safe. I'm actually can use the word safe on my label and in my advertising, because I make products that are EPA exempt. The EPA puts out a list called the 25B list, and they say if you use ingredients from this list only, then you don't have to register with us. So,
nice.
For 30 years, everybody in the industry has been trying to come up with something. The problem is that they come up with these products and then they test in a laboratory, and then they put them on the shelves and nobody buy them because they don't work. And so that's why have had more than 2,000 mosquito bites in one night. That's why I've done thousands of tests where I stand outside and I count how many mosquitoes land on me. And then I operate the device, or I spray on me, or I do whatever, and I count. And in the early days, I was doing, I'd work 8 hours during the day and then do 8 hours of testing at night. And it was grueling. So I'd be out there till 3 or 4 in the morning with the rats and all the insects, and it was horrible. But anyways, the industry doesn't believe that natural products will work. Right. And I have proven that my essential oil-based products actually are, not only do they work, they're more effective than the chemicals by far. And so now that I've proven that, so now the pest control guys are all like, well, yeah, but you're higher price than the other guy. Oh, come on, really? So you want a better product and you want a lower price. So I actually have a product now that we've developed that will actually compete very well with some of the harsh chemicals. But our products work better. That's why I try to make people understand, don't switch because we're natural, switch because our products work better. And so we've got agricultural products. I got products for flies, for rats, for snakes, for just about everything. Wasps, ants. We can do it. We got a cockroach product coming out soon. See all those tubs? There's a bunch of plastic tubs behind me there. See, those will all have cockroaches and crickets and grasshoppers and ticks and all kinds of stuff in them. And I'll be testing here in my house. Yay!
That's some stuff we're gonna.
Oh yeah,
that's some stuff we're gonna need around here.
Yeah.
I
mosquitoes up there.
Yeah, we got some mosquito. Well, we'll have some mosquito. Well, actually, that's what's funny is I rarely have mosquito problems. They'll land on me, but they won't bite. So I guess I just don't smell very good. But we've got a couple dogs and a cat, and definitely need protection for them. And and we've got gnats and flies and biting flies and these little bugs I've never seen before that look like they're pretty nasty. Saw a black wasp the other day, and although that could be a contradiction in terms.
Well, it could have been. I like that. No, that could have been a dirt dauber though, and they rarely ever bother humans. But I'll tell you what, dude, when we get done, send me an email with your address. I'll send you a sample. So I've got some stuff that not only it's the most effective mosquito repellent in the world, it smells like men's cologne after it's been on about 30 minutes. But what's even great about it, it keeps ticks off you too. So you can actually spray it on your hands and rub that into your dog's fur, and it'll keep the ticks off your dogs too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, you need mosquito spray of some
and we just got, so about a month ago, we just got, we're on tractorsupply.com. So we at least are now available nationwide. And so, so that's why that's really what sealed the deal with this big chemical company is they're like going, well, wow, but they're in 20,000 doors. So they're going to put my products in 20,000 stores, which would just be, my life will change. Hopefully I need to. I've been almost homeless like 3 times in the last decade, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Wow. Yeah. Being homeless, not the best way to spend an afternoon.
No, not especially when you're sober. It's one thing when you're high as hell, but when you're sober, it's different. All right, that's enough out of me. What
Jeff, what do you write about? I know you said that you've had several relatives pass away in the last several years, and that's tragic and unfortunate. But what are you writing about? What can we find from you?
I write speculative fiction, so I've been writing a lot more horror lately.
Okay.
So like one of the first books I wrote was like an East meets West vampire book. I couldn't find a publisher because they're all like vampires are European, and I said no. There's like other vampires all over the world. There are vampires. I don't know why I like vampires. So in the end, I did a Kickstarter. It was successful, and then I started a publishing company. So I'm publishing other people now too. For some reason, everyone wants to write about Trump. So I'm about to release another book about Trump, but it's a feminist science fiction book where he dies. I think he dies in most of the stories. But I don't know. Like the author really hates him. He hates him so much she can't stop writing about him. But whatever. We will publish the book. But that's what I do. I publish random stories from other people. I publish books from other people. But I also write too. It's harder being a writer than a publisher. Like everyone wants you to publish their stuff, but who's going to publish my stuff? Like that's a different question, right? So yeah. And I also have a podcast where I interview writers and I get them to do a reading. So
what's the name of your podcast?
The Artsy Raven, because
The Artsy Raven.
the company, my company is called Dark Helix Press. It has a raven on top of a DNA. So then I thought Artsy Raven because like we have Raven in the logo. So yeah, so that's what I do. I mean, oh gosh, writers are a dime a dozen.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
A diamond amongst diamonds is still a diamond. Can you hold on for a quick second? Hold on 1 second.
Time for a commercial?
Yeah. I'm doing my show. Okay. I'll have to edit that out. Okay. And we're back.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean,
my roommate's back went out, and so he's kind of trapped.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But,
I want to be
I feel for him.
Yeah, there you go.
I wanted to be a writer a long time ago, but my family was not supportive. They're like, you're going to starve to death. But also my mother had a BA in English, and she's like, it's not going to work. So I went into science instead. So my background is actually in nuclear medicine, but then radiation was too much. So then I moved into a desk job instead because I was injecting people and scanning their bodies. Like you won't see the nuclear radiation department unless you're really sick, right? I mean, we're injecting radiation and then scanning the inside. But some of the more interesting things we did was like brain death, like to confirm if someone's dead. We inject a isotope, and then, you know, there's a blood-brain barrier here, and if you're dead, the radiation only goes up to here, so we can't see it in the picture. If you're alive, it'll go into your brain, right? Because your blood will go through.
Right.
We also fed people radioactive sandwiches, usually egg sandwich for some reason, to see if, you know, you have a little flap here, and then if your flap isn't working, the sandwich isn't going to go down. It'll just come back up again. We do all sorts of weird things, but a lot of them is heart scanning hearts, make sure your heart is doing okay. So you're running on a treadmill, and then we inject a dose of radiation to see before and after pictures of your exercise. And then we can compare, you know, how your heart's doing and stuff like that. All sorts of weird stuff with people. So yeah, that's what I did before. But it's just that every time I inject people, I get exposed too. And then after a while, I start to get really paranoid. And I was like, maybe I can switch jobs. But I still have a lot of people, like a lot of my classmates are still doing it. I mean, you know, it's a unionized job. But it's just after a while too, it was too repetitive for me. It's like same thing every day. So I was switching jobs. But
it's cool that you were able to make the switch and start writing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just wish I make more money writing. Oh gosh, it is a life of
well, where can people find your books?
They're online. So my website, jfgarrard.com, has links to like some of the short stories I've published and my books. And Dark Helix Press is the publishing house. We recently revamped the website because for some reason it wasn't working for the last couple of years. I was trying to get my husband to fix it, but he just ignores me. So, you know, it was kind of hard. I do everything myself too. So, yeah.
Sounds like it. Okay. So we can find your books on jfgarrard.com, and we can find Mosquito Steve stuff at Tractor Supply.
Yeah, or mosquitosteve.com.
Or mosquitosteve.com. That's just a great that's a great moniker. Yeah. Doesn't get much better than that.
It has been it's been more of a spiritual journey than anything over the last couple of decades, but I'm serious that I really was almost homeless a few times. It's been really, really tough. And so every time though, and when my back was against the wall, I'd pray about it and say, God, I don't think I'm your guy. I can't do this. And within 30 minutes, a phone would ring or I'd get an email or something. There was some kind of sign saying, I'm still here. I'm with you. Keep going. And because it's been an uphill battle. Consumers want natural products. Like y'all would prefer a natural product, right? That's not dangerous.
Sure. All else being equal, I'd definitely rather a natural product that's not harsh.
Yeah, but your chemical company, your big pest control guys and all them, they don't understand that that's what consumers want. And so they push back on it and say, "Oh, well, natural products don't work." Well, try them. How about trying them 1st before you say they don't work?
Well,
Because
the
here's the deal: they're going to beat
from
yours.
chemicals are from nature too. It's just modified. It's just a formula.
Yeah, well, but you're talking about nicotinoids and pyrethroids and things like that. I mean, you read their label, and so mine doesn't kill anything. You read their label, well, it kills fish, it kills birds, it kills. I mean, it kills everything. And the same guys that made Roundup and Paraquat are the ones that are making your chemical pesticides. So and telling you they're safe. So you gonna believe them?
Well, Steve, can I ask you? You said you've been homeless a few times. Is it because you were trying like a new business and it didn't work? Is that what led to?
No, it's I've been almost homeless, so I didn't. That's why I say God seemed to come through in the last minute. But it's really about, because first of all, it's a seasonal business, and at one point I decided that I thought that the company was going to make enough money to support me, so I quit, because for the longest time I wasn't getting paid. Up until about 5 years ago, I wasn't getting paid at all. And so I was working 2 jobs, one of them for free. And then finally it got to where we were doing better business. And so I decided to take that risk. And there was one time before that where I was nearly homeless, but then this last 5 years has been especially difficult. And then, so I did the houseware show in Vegas this year, and that really set the difference. Here's what's weird. So the chemical company that wants to license my products for retail, they actually came out to Vegas and came to my booth to meet me there. They're like 30 minutes away in Irving, Texas. They could have just said, "Hey, why don't you come see us?" But no. They had to wait, let me spend all that money, go to Vegas. I guess, it was Vegas, so it wasn't that bad. And then I met them there, and then they said, "Come see us in Irving when you get back." So it's been crazy. So, it's been, I feel like this is a mission, and that's what I tell people, because this is, remember the old Blues Brothers, I'm on a mission from God, and I know it sounds corny, but that's the thing, is I've prayed and I always put it in his hands, and I say, I can't do this anymore. And he gives me a reason to keep going. And so I assume that this must be his will. So.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I've been in similar circumstances where it's gotten pretty close to me sleeping in my car. And, since I've in the last 10 years, I've only had one car that's big enough for me to sleep in. Wow. But I got an old Cadillac to do drive Uber in, and that was the only one that was big enough for me to sleep in. Eventually, it broke down, and I had to stop. I think I wasn't supposed to do Uber, because the car broke down, and then somebody broke into the car, and
oh my God.
it really it was something else, but yeah. So
they did that kind of stuff in Missouri.
Oh no! This was when I was living in California.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Up until like 2 weeks ago, I lived in California.
Oh,
wow!
So
okay,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Huh?
So
it's
why
very
did you move
expensive
to
to move away from California, isn't it?
Yeah, but California is really expensive, and and there was nothing I was doing that I had to be in California to do. My company AutomateU.co is based out of California now, but it's like all the work I do is online. It's like, right before this, I was on a Zoom with a business associate and talking about that, and before that, I was on a Zoom with somebody else for it, there was no reason to stay in California and deal with that expensive overhead. But my parents live here in Missouri, and so there's a connection there. But
what is Missouri known for? I've never been to Missouri or Texas.
For Ozark, for the show Ozark.
For Ozark.
Oh my God, such a great show! Oh my God, wow.
I've never watched it.
Oh my God!
But yeah, there's a lot of natural stuff going on. The Ozarks, Lake of the Ozarks. We've got Branson, Missouri, which
the best way to describe Branson is it's like Vegas, but without the liquor or the prostitutes or the gambling. Right. So
But Kansas City is one of my favorite cities. I love
yeah,
Kansas City.
Kansas
I
City's
actually
pretty
like
good.
St. Louis a lot too, but I really love Kansas City.
Yeah, everything's up to date in Kansas City, after all.
Oh, it is? Oh, is that what they say? Okay.
No, that's from the musical Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Darn, I
I
can't
don't
believe I made a
remember
reference
details.
nobody got.
Look, I drank myself into a blackout for 30 years. So, I mean, I'm going to forget some stuff every once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, because the closest city to me, I always go to Buffalo or Grand
Okay.
Island
Yeah.
States because I have a friend that lives there. So I'm there
Mhm.
every couple of months, and I go to my Trader Joe's, and then we eat ice cream and Ted's hot dog. I think that's a New York State thing. She's always taking me to
Okay.
Ted's hot dogs and Paula's donuts. That kind of
Okay,
thing.
yeah, that sounds like it might be a New York thing.
If,
How about you, Steve? You have any favorite vacation spots?
I don't travel a lot because I really don't have the time, but
Mhm.
I do have favorites. Yes, yeah. I mean, I love the Berkshires. Been up there a couple of times, and I'm craving going back and seeing some foliage in the Berkshires. I
Mm.
love I like Florida a lot. There's so many places
Okay.
I want to go. Like a couple of years ago, we went to Iowa, and I thought, well, what a stupid place to go. I love Iowa; it's so cool. Oh my god! And we went and saw the covered bridges, which was like the bridges of Madison County, the book and the movie.
Right.
You know, so the covered bridges. Anyway, so I went and saw
Okay.
those. So that's but I like Florida. I love Texas, but I love America. I love America.
Yeah.
I like traveling around America. Pennsylvania, went there for the first time a couple of years ago. It was fascinating. So
Yeah, I love
just about everywhere
Pennsylvania.
I go, I love it. Chicago, I went and saw the Cubs play at Wrigley Field. Now that was a vacation. That was awesome. So
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been to Wrigley yet, but yeah, yeah, definitely a lot more places I need to go. But yeah, when I was growing up, we my dad was in the military doing short-term active duties, and so we'd be moving around a lot, and so I got to homeschool in high school, and so unlike most kids who would sit in a classroom and it's like, okay, turn to page 48, and this is Gettysburg, and this is what you're going to learn about it, and here's some pictures. It was like, okay, here's Gettysburg, get out of the car. It's like, okay, we're walking on the places where the people walked and fought, and here's the actual thing. So it changes the way you look at history when you can actually see and touch it.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, but so
I
yeah,
love
so a lot of
Gettysburg,
places
too.
like yeah, but so a lot of places like Virginia and Pennsylvania have a special place in my heart for all that for all their history. But yeah,
We don't have guys, I know people think that down here in Texas everybody rides a horse, but we actually
you don't?
we don't have carts. There's all the Amish people up there in Pennsylvania is blowing my mind. All
Yeah.
the people on the little carts and the horses, and I
Mhm.
think that's fascinating. I love it. It's very nice. Lancaster,
yeah,
Pennsylvania, I think was my favorite. Lancaster. We saw a lot of good stuff there, but I want to
Have
go
you
back. Now you're making me want to get up and go somewhere. Dadgummit.
Well, hey, you get all this stuff licensed, and you're going to be able to.
Absolutely, yes. I will be doing a lot of travel. Yes.
Have you been to Canada? Any of
We
you?
have been one time. Well, no, that's not true. Twice. I went to British Columbia. Love Victoria.
Columbia, beautiful.
Absolutely love Victoria. I want to get back to Victoria. I love Vancouver.
Yeah.
And so I think I would probably love Montreal and Toronto as well. So no, that's definitely on my list.
The
I
bill?
love mountains and trees. I mean, gosh, y'all have mountains and trees. Kansas City has hills and trees and rivers that go through it. Dallas is flat, and we have a river, but it's really small, and sometimes there's not any water in it, and so yeah. So no, I want hills.
Sounds like
and
LA.
rivers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to move somewhere that has stuff. But we are only 5 hours from the beach here. So, we could get to the beach in 5 hours. You can be in Colorado in 8 hours. And so we're not that far away. But yeah, I really would love to. I'd like to, I like Georgia, I think, or South Carolina or North Carolina, somewhere in there where you're close to the beach, you're close to the mountains. You kind of got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I'm probably never going to move from Dallas.
Well, you have to have somewhere to call a home base.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. 63 years. And I told people many times that I can't imagine ever leaving Dallas, but the last few years we've gotten to be a big city, and it's just there's traffic all the time. You can't get anywhere anymore, and I just can't stand it anymore. It's a big city. I don't want to be in a big city anymore.
Yeah, I hate driving. I don't mind driving. I just don't like people. I just don't like the other drivers,
Yeah.
Don't like the other drivers.
So when I drive, I'm usually driving back and forth across town too during traffic, and it's always there's always construction. Dallas is the worst traffic, I think, of anybody other than California. I've heard those stories.
Yeah, LA's pretty bad.
2-hour drive to work or back. No, thank you.
Yeah, LA traffic is the worst.
Yes, yeah. But Dallas is pretty bad. We're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, in Southern California, we've got an intersection of freeways that's commonly referred to as the Orange Crush. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Ours is the Mix Master, and it needs to be redone, and they've redone part of it. But yeah, it just doesn't matter. So I live like 2 doors from one of the main thoroughfares going east-west through Dallas, right in the middle of it, and it's constant, and it's got street lights all up and down it. Yet it's 6 lanes and traffic like you wouldn't believe all day long, and so
wow.
So it's I just get tired of it. The good news is, so I'm also exactly 1 mile. There's a trail about 100 yards from me, and I get on that trail and I can go run around White Rock Lake. It's a really beautiful lake. It's about 9 miles around. Nice. And so we're surrounded by, we're close to at least a lake and some trees and some, squirrels and
some nature,
possums and stuff.
Yeah. We don't have much in the way of traffic or anything here in Malden in Missouri. No traffic. Like 1,500 people. It's like,
what city up there?
Let's see, Kennett, Dexter, Poplar Bluff. We're about an hour and a half, I think, away from Cape, and then about 3 hours south of St. Louis.
Okay, that helps. I know St. Louis. I heard that one. What was it? We stayed at a town, golly, what was it? And it had this little motel that had been refurbished.
Okay. No worries. Oh well, but anyway, okay. Well, we seem to be winding up as it were, and so yeah. So let's go through the promos one more time. JF, you're available. Your work is available on jfgarrard.com.
Yep.
And what was the name of your production of your publishing company again?
Dark Helix Press.
DarkHeelExpress.com.
So dark.
Oh, okay.
The DNA helix. Yeah.
Oh, okay. DarkHelix.com. Okay.
DarkHelixPress.com.
DarkHelixPress.com. It'll be in the description. And then Steve, your stuff is available. Your natural bug stuff is bug sprays and such are available on mosquitosteve.com. Okay. Great. I will do that. Okay. Well, thank you both for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure. Hopefully people have gotten to know you in a little different way than they might have on other podcasts, and get interested in what you're doing. As for pleasure was all mine, Steve and GF. Glad to have had you on, and so thanks everybody for listening or watching, tuning in, and remember to stay safe out there, wash your hands, and stay tuned for the ending credits.
Thank you all for tuning in.
This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank my producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch. I, of course, am your humble host. I'm very thankful for my special guests, Mosquito Steve and JF Garrard. Support the show if you feel so led over on patreon.com. We're known as Bald Spots Pro. Don't you dare miss YWL Online. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are offered. Be sure to tune in next time when my very special guest will be Charles Reed.
Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people.
If you or someone you know needs support now, call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. That is the suicide and crisis lifeline here in the United States.